Just when you thought it was safe, curriculum changed. PCP has gone and got a court case. It's proof for the deniers, revealing all the liars. UNESCO co-conspirers, stealing away your rights as a parent, a guardian. Remove your right to disagree. Chosen from the age of 3, exposing kids to CSE. Change the name to RSE, it's mirrored inequality. Legally made it mandatory, dictated by the GOV.
Hello everyone, and how are you all? We've got a bit of a show for you tonight, guys. We have guests from across the world, but we'll discuss that in a minute. So for those who do not know me, my name is Kim. I am Chair of Public Child Protection Wales. Public Child Protection Wales is an organisation set up by parents, carers and guardians in Wales. It does exactly what it says on the tin. We are the public protecting the children. So the reason why we've set up this organisation is because here in Wales, our safeguarding policies, procedures and training are not up to scratch. So that's something we will be addressing in the long term. But recently we have been campaigning. I think we're mostly known for our campaigning against the new sex education, which has landed in the UK. So this sex education is called comprehensive sexuality education, and all four countries in the UK have adopted this system. So they all adopted it in March 2017, and we are currently at different stages of implementation. So when they adopted this education, they did say there would be legislative changes, and those legislative changes have come. So more recently, we have had the government, I say we, 5 parents in Wales have had the government in court regarding this comprehensive sexuality education, because here they have removed all rights, all parental rights and all parental say over their children's education from age 3 to 16. Now, some people think this is okay, but when you look at comprehensive sexuality education, you'll see, unlike us, it does not do what it says on the tin. So it is grounded by 3 principles, 3 theories. So the first theory we're most concerned about, sexual from birth. Again, that does what it says on the tin. They believe we are sexual beings from birth. Then you've got queer theory. Now, this is the most complex of all, because a lot of people out there believe that this is a form of sexuality. It is not a form of sexuality. Queering simply means everything goes. It's an academic discipline, something that people really need to be educated on. Then we got the gender ideology. And again, this is another unethical theory where children are told that the doctor guesses your gender at birth. If you're a girl who do not play with a doll, maybe you were born in the wrong body. Well, this has caused problems all across the world. We have seen children practically mutilating themselves on a grand scale. People believe this is not going on. They believe this is not happening to minors. But a simple little bit of research will bring that to light for you. So here in Wales, we have had the government in court twice over this. First time we attempted an injunction to prevent this education hitting the classrooms. And then the second case was a judicial review. So for the whole of the UK, like I've just explained, this is comprehensive sexuality education. All 4 countries have adopted this. So you guys better bet your bottom dollar that this legislation can and will be used against every single citizen in the UK. How can I be so sure? Well, what they've done is they've drawn upon cases from across Europe, and they've used arguments from those cases to claim that there is no such thing as parental rights. Parental rights don't exist. And if they did exist, they would be minute anyway. So this now is no longer, shall we say, a fight for Wales. This is now a fight for the whole of the UK. So that's something I will be discussing more with you as the week goes on, because like I said, this fight now has gone UK-wide, okay? So with our case, they've removed all parental rights. Everybody in the UK should be concerned. There's also been a recent case, a case by a lady, Claire Page. Again, she's a parent. She was concerned about sex education, and she tried to access the resources. But one of the sex education organisations out there, they refuse to hand this information over. They wouldn't even hand it over through an FOI, a Freedom of Information request. So this got to the courts as well. And the courts have decided that this is not in the public's interest to release the lesson resources to the adults, to the people responsible for caring for children and for keeping them safe. So now what we're dealing with here is secret lesson resources. The courts have openly stated it is not in the public's interest to share children's lesson content centered around these ideologies and the topic of sex. As we know, we've seen some graphic lesson content there as well. So this is concerning. It is massively concerning that they are clamping down on us no matter which country we are in. We are hearing discussions in Parliament about this, and the Prime Minister has said he's going to rip up this education if it causes any potential harm or damage to our children. We already know it is. We already know it is causing damage to our children. Plus, we can look around the world as well. We're using the same system, comprehensive sexuality education, which we have proven in the High Court is a global sex education. So when you look at other countries and what's happening to children around the world there, we should be acting now. Our children should not be in a queue to be saved. We are operating under the same frameworks. These organizations are all connected together. This stuff is being outsourced, okay? So this is where we all need to clamp down now, and the UK are coming together on this. So a little bit of unfortunate news for you. We do know, we are aware of people who have been campaigning against this a while. Some people have put a lot of work into this and paved the way. Unfortunately, some of those people are not going to be able to continue the fight. So that's what we're doing this week now. We are meeting with the organizations, the existing organizations out there, the ones that we've worked with since day one. We've got a meeting with them this week just to discuss how much workload we can all manage. Okay, let's see where we're all at with it. And then we're going to be connecting to all the Facebook groups. So this will be going UK wide. There's been a suggestion of us being PPUK, Parent Pushback UK. We will all stay within our groups. So Too Much Too Young will be themselves. Schoolgate Campaign will be themselves. Concerns Against RSE. We will all be our individual groups, but we will be joining as PPUK, so Parent Power UK. We do have 2 demonstrations coming up. We have one outside the Senedd on the 11th of July at 12 p.m. That's on a Tuesday. That will be after First Minister's questions. And then we have a big demonstration in London on the 13th of September. And that's to remind Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, that we are watching, we are waiting, and we will not be sidelined, okay? So there will be plans in place as well for mass school removals. There'll be lots of things coming down for you guys. But at this moment in time, we need these one-on-one meetings with the different organizations just to see where we're at and how much of this workload we can handle. And I can see Adele is there in the chat. Adele, feel free to jump on whenever you want. So I've kept you waiting long enough now. I'm going to introduce you to 2 great people tonight. Ronnie Herman, who is an ex-teacher. Ronnie left her profession because of this education. And a lovely gentleman, Pierre Barnes. Pierre works alongside Ronnie. And I'm just going to bring him into the studio now. Ronnie is a firecracker. We first came across Ronnie on Phil's show. She was meant to join us in March, but because of myself, I had some personal issues going on. Now is the time, okay, guys? So now she's able to come on because we're able to host her. And like I said, she's a firecracker. This is the teachers we need in the UK, okay? This is the standard we should all have, we should push for. Anything less is unacceptable. So it's an absolute pleasure to introduce Pierre and Ronnie. How are you both?
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you for joining us. So, Ronnie, if I'll start with you first. Would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers? Our channel has slightly different viewers to Liberty Tactics and Phil. So this will be the first time for a lot of them to see you. So fire away.
Well, it was a pleasure coming on and be able to hear what's going on in Wales. And you hit it right on the head. This is a global attack on children. What you are facing in Wales, we are definitely 100% fighting the same fight in Canada. I was an educator with the Vancouver School Board here in British Columbia for over 15 years, and I resigned under duress in 2021. And in 2021, I saw a lot of the things that were going on, and that was when the pronouns started. Before the public knew, they were already training teachers on how to do the gender pronouns with report card writing. Any student files, they were already training us to do that. And then that's when the spill out came of the gender buttons, the gender labels, and so on. So I resigned. I traveled different parts of Greater Vancouver and British Columbia in telling everybody about what was going on at schools, because at that time, parents were locked out of schools. They were not allowed to come in. They were not allowed to have a teacher-parent meeting inside the classroom. And I keep telling everybody that was by design. If you knew what was going on within the school, if you knew what we had on the walls, if you knew how we were psychologically conditioning them to change their behavior, alarm bells would be ringing. So you're purposely kept out of school to keep you ignorant and blind to what was actually happening behind the doors. So then as I was doing my speeches, I was in Abbotsford where Pierre is, and I did one of my speeches, and Pierre Barnes was just out in the crowd, and I didn't know he had taped one of my speeches. And then I bumped into him again at the Surrey border protest, where we were protesting the fight with US and Canada, allowing the exchanges going back and forth. I bumped into him again with his lovely children and his family. And then that's when we met up, and I wondered, you think I'm a firecracker? This guy is an amazing dad. He has done so much through Canada and worldwide. He has kahunas like you wouldn't believe. And I have learned so much from my friend, and I have such respect for him. And that's why I wanted him on the show. He has been meeting with chairs. He's been meeting, and he'll tell you himself, politicians, lots of people behind the door. I believe also with the police and the RCMP. He will share with you, but he's the one that he's my powerhouse on the side. And he is also now taking over for the SOGI International Task Force that is exposing what is happening in schools. We are exposing what is happening in schools so that parents can learn about what is happening, but also give them solutions and power to take back their rights. Because what you're seeing in the United Kingdom of parental rights stripped, we are seeing that here too. And our Castro, our prime minister, just came out a few days ago, and Pierre, correct me if I'm wrong, a couple of days ago, saying, parents, if you stand up for your children, you're now on the far right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they've done pretty much the same here as well. Before we move on, let's just, can you explain to the viewers what SOGI is?
Pierre, you go ahead, my friend.
SOGI means sexual orientation and gender identity.
So that is the abbreviation for your sex education then, yeah? Here we've got different abbreviations. We've got RSE, Relationship and Sexuality Education, Sex and Relationship Education, Relationship and Health and Social and Personal Development, lots of different names. So I just want to clear that up. So SOGI is the Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So Pierre, without further ado, introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Well, firstly, I'm a dad of 4 children. I have 2 daughters and 2 sons, and I have an amazing family. So I'm just there to protect them. Yeah, the way it started actually is they tried to indoctrinate my daughter. Nothing happened because I have a very good relationship with my daughter, and they just try, and that was enough to piss me off actually. To wake me up about what was happening in school regarding gender, especially gender ideology in that case, with the pronouns and the normalizations of the belief that a man can be a woman and a man can be and a woman can be a man, which is, we all know it's a complete lies. It's like, yeah. So it started with that. So I did solve the issue very fast in the school of my daughter. Uh, I just went there and told the principal exactly what I was thinking, with no political correctness, just like a dad would do if anything's happened to their daughter. So yeah, so then I decided to investigate school all across the country, because now I kind of knew that this was happening. So I investigated the libraries to see what kind of book they had in school, and I find the books. I share the books with the parents. I buy the book myself to review it, because I don't like to take informations from other side, because
Yeah.
I want to know if this is the truth. So I buy the books, I review the book myself, then I put everything on my website. On my website, I put a link that links directly to the libraries of the school, so people know that this is not just me saying that this is the truth, because it's linked. So the only things I did actually is just share the truth to people. That's all I
Yeah.
did. I know there is some law here that probably could put me in jail for what I did, but personally, I don't give a half, because if a dad like me go to jail for protecting J children, so where are we in our country? So I had nothing to lose anyway.
Can
So
you mention your website too? The exposing
yeah. Hmm?
your website where they can find the
Yeah.
directory of exactly what you're talking about. It was
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the name of their website is exposing SOGI123.com, and yeah, so that's the main website. I got you know I got other servers just to protect the information, but that's the main one, exposing SOGI123.com. You can find a review there, and if you want me to review some books, just let me know. I'll review the books.
That's
So
fantastic, actually.
yeah,
There's we're doing a lot here with books as well. I know they're doing a lot over in Ireland with the books. So for people who are following the different groups and different organizations, the website, Pierre's website, is exposing SOGI, SOGI,
yeah,
123.com, and it's
yeah,
worth looking on islands stuff, the stuff of the North Wales people putting out. You can see these are the same books, guys, okay? There
yeah.
is no difference between them. They're all the same books. So let me just welcome Adele on. So for those who don't know, Adele has just got on. Adele is one of our colleagues, and she's also a teaching assistant as well. So she's just disappeared a minute, but she'll be back in a second. Just wanted to get that introduction across. So, what you were saying, Ronnie, about teachers, and the parents being shut out. Now, we have been a bit suspicious about that here because we are on the teachers' groups. We're not speaking on them. But what we are seeing is as if the teachers are being trained against parents. It's like as if the parents are the enemies. So, and that's just the feel that we
And
get.
that's true. They're being told top down through administrators, trustees, and their bargaining contract is that teachers are told that if a child chooses a different gender at school, a different pronoun, or decides to maybe even transition, that home is not a safe place and that information is to stay private amongst the teacher and the school, and the parents are not to be notified. Now, here in Canada, we have IEPs, and those are IEPs, which are individual education plans, and those are set up for special needs students. And those plans are actually put together by a team, right? We have our psychiatrist, we have our school district counselor, we have a social worker, we have a team that puts that together. Now they've actually put together, they have gender plans. So now we have gender plans that are happening for kids. But you know what I'm curious about? Who sits on that team? Who sits on that team? Because I'm sure the parent's not on that team. Individual education plans, the parent is the first one that's on that team, right? And they say, this is the reports that we'd like to see. I lost my power.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. We can see you and we can hear you. It's fine.
So what I was going to say is that teachers here in BC, and I can only speak for BC, you are not allowed to give medical advice. You are not allowed to diagnose a student. You're not allowed to even say, hey, I think your child should be on Ritalin because they're ADHD. right? I don't have a medical license to self-diagnose or to give a prescription. That's not allowed. And in fact, a few years ago, I would be fired. So who's sitting on these gender transition teams running up these evaluation plans that we would have an action, a percentage when you need to have this done by, and who's sitting on this board? Because if it's a teacher, you should be fired.
Yeah.
If it's a school official, you should be fired. You don't hold a medical license. You hold a bachelor's of education, maybe a bachelor's of science, philosophy, whatever, but it should be a medical person. What medical person is sitting on this team that is going against the parent?
We have actually had, I'm glad you brought that up about the IEP. They are called IDPs, yeah, so individual development plan. They in each country, there's something slightly different. And we have just had...
sorry to interrupt, but we do call them IEPs as well in school.
You do call them IEPs as well.
Yeah.
Adele is an additional needs support teacher, you see, so Adele would know. But what we've recently had now, so we in this legislation, it does say that there can be exemptions for children of additional needs. So we have one child, he's only 5, and he has very complex needs. So they've all sat down in a meeting and they have said, this child cannot go into any lessons regarding gender or sex. It just cannot happen. So that was the educational psychologist, that was the social worker, that was the teacher, the parent. It was all finalized and this child was being removed. Now a little voice from above has said, no, you do not remove that child, you put that child back in. Knowing full well with these professionals, the educational psychologists, mum, the head teachers, they've all agreed that this will have a detrimental impact on this child's development. Yet, people from above have now overruled on that situation. So even in circumstances where we know everybody is agreeing, this is wrong, this is harmful for this individual child. We've got somebody who's never met the child, who knows nothing at all about the child. That's essentially breaking the law, going against the law, forcing that child into these lessons, which will affect other children. You know, this child will pick up on behaviors and it will impact other children. It's going to have a ripple effect. So again, here, even when the professionals are on side, everyone's getting overridden. Adele, do you want to speak about things that's happening in schools with you?
Yeah, so thank you, and lovely to meet both of you as well. It's really interesting, and so it's really powerful connecting with people all over the world on this matter. But yeah, for me, it's funny, on Twitter today, I've actually just signed a petition, I believe for a boy called Oliver, requiring mandatory training on autism for teachers. And I'm saying to myself, this is something we shouldn't even be having to do. My big frustration I see in school, being somebody who's ADHD myself, it is hard in a mainstream school watching these children struggling. And yet you go to the well-being office in any school, or just all over the schools, nearly every secondary school I've been into, it is LGBT safe space. You are safe to use your pronouns here. You go into the well-being centre and it's rainbow flags. And again, this is a safe space. And in that school, I can guarantee you, except for the high-level sets, you know, where obviously you've got, you know, the more academic children, there is a child in every classroom with a diagnosis or needing a diagnosis, going through the process of a diagnosis. And it just baffles me, all this effort that's going into essentially what is the sexuality of a child. And there's just nothing for our disabled children, our children with additional needs, and not just needs which are learning, but a lot of these children are not getting their emotional needs met, and are not very good at regulating their emotions, and there's nothing on this, and it's hugely frustrating seeing this going on in school. I do think I don't think the agreement is in there with the teenagers as much as I thought at the beginning. There is pushback. I was in class with one teacher who's got all her trans badge on, you're safe to use your pronoun badges and all this stuff. And the whole lesson was just a joke, because the kids just kept shouting that they identified as a tree, so therefore didn't need to answer the questions. And it was just a joke. I attended a inclusivity and diversity, which was just an LGBT assembly, and it was LGBTQIA+, but they had 2 Qs, 2 As, and they were going through the letters, explaining to the kids what each letter meant. But I'm there with deaf children, so I'm somehow having to try and work out how I can sign this to the deaf children to begin with. But one particular boy, he doesn't, his English is not his, he's profoundly deaf, so he doesn't actually understand, he doesn't understand sign language, never mind, lip reading or what words mean. And all of a sudden, a picture of 2 men kissing came up on there, and this boy's reaction, because he didn't know what was going on, he couldn't read what was happening on there, so he didn't, and even though I'm explaining it to him as much as I can in sign, these words don't mean, the signs don't mean anything to him. So without me then explaining, so I could sign, I actually wouldn't know how to spell sign lesbian, I'd probably finger spell it. But I can't just tell him that, because he doesn't know what that is in the first place. So then you've got to go into, into more detail. And this boy's, he had come from Africa, which I wouldn't imagine where he is from, was very LGBT visual. So, and then at the end of this, then it was a video to be played. Again, this video was on inclusivity, and they start playing the video, and I put my hand up and I said, "Oh, has this video got subtitles for deaf children?" "Oh, no, sorry, it doesn't." So this video on inclusivity we're about to watch doesn't include the deaf children of the school. And this school has a hearing impaired base. Its purpose is to, but again, the teachers don't have, sorry, 1 second, I just need to open the back door for my dog.
So we have safe spaces here as well, right? What they have there as safe spaces, Kimberly, we have the same here. It's interesting that they're using the same language.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the allies. And I shared this petition earlier, and I was like, where's the disabled allies? Where's the safe spaces? For these children, their safe space is normally a base where they do a lot of their work in the base already. So it's not separating where they, these other safe spaces for the LGBT, they get a whole wellness place where they're not doing their schoolwork. But then the children with the disabilities are going back to essentially what is just an extension of a classroom. And for me,
that is not.
If you're a school which takes, children with hearing loss and hearing difficulties, then to me, every teacher should have basic sign language skills. Even if it is just the alphabet, so that they can spell things to the child they want to talk to. But most can't even say, "How are you?" A simple how are you sign? They don't even know that.
No, special needs component of teaching, the teaching program here is minuscule. It's very, very small.
This is the issue, isn't it? You know, this is the issue. I attended a school meeting last week. I got kicked out, and so what it was, they had brought in this organization to support teachers. Okay, so they admitted the teachers didn't quite understand what they were doing, so they needed this third party organization. So the third party organization was flying through the slides. I was putting questions in the chat box and you could see his face changing. So when I finally got to ask my question, I was really confused because they were telling us that this organization was coming in to support teachers because they don't have the training and capacity to do it. But then he was telling us it's up to the teachers which resources they choose. So who is actually supporting who here? Who is actually the experienced person? If this organization's coming in because the teachers aren't trained, but then the teachers get to override them anyway, how do the teachers know what to override? You know, they've been called in for that reason and they simply couldn't answer it. But I think that is a massive issue here, is the training. And I do feel that they've been trained against families more than anything, you know?
No, they're being told top down. But what I do love is Pierre Barnes exposes them. And he does it in such a professional way. And he's exposing the truth when he writes letters to trustees. And I don't want to speak for him, but when he writes these letters to school board trustees here, who are their role and responsibility is to have
breaking up for you guys, or is it just me?
Say that again.
Hello?
I'm sorry, it was breaking up and I wasn't sure if it was you or if it was me.
Okay.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, you carry on then, guys. Sorry about that.
Okay. So, we have school board trustees here, and the role and responsibility is to be a main communicator between the community, parents, and students, right? They're the ones that are responsible for the curriculum, the books, and blah, blah, blah. I love how Pierre Barnes has been addressing the trustees through emails, through fax, and connecting us with those to make them acknowledge and be responsible. And I'll let Pierre speak on that. And also through his exposing SOGI website that we put in the description box, he's also exposing the teacher misconduct cases, the administrator conduct cases. He's exposing it all, and he's put it in a beautiful directory. So I would love for him to, because we are trying to train parents on how to professionally get through to these administrators, teachers, trustees, politicians. He has meetings with MLA. And just last weekend, you were in Ottawa with Billboard Chris that made waves through Canada and the US, right, on a protest. And maybe you can speak on that. But that was bringing the Muslim community, the Christian community, everybody together.
All the brotherhood together. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Regarding the safe place,
do you know what? This is...
Yeah. Sorry. Regarding the safe
Go on, Pierre.
place,
The floor's yours.
Yeah, that's good. Regarding a safe place we're talking about, we have to ask the questions who the school has become safe for. You know, it is for the weirdos that want to express a sexual fetish in front of children, or the schools is safe for the children. So what I think that is happening is the school has become a safe place for the weirdo. You know, for the guy who like to have big breasts in the front of the school. Because there is a teacher that the only place they're going to express a sexual fetish is in school. Outside of the schools, you won't see those people. It's crazy the amount of weirdos right now within the school systems. They're all there. Seriously, you don't see them on the street. But if you go on the website of a school and start to make some research with the names of the teachers on Twitter, and you start to know who they are, gosh, they're weird. It's very simple. So the main question: who the school has become safe for? You know, and I think with all the SOGI, I think the sexual orientation and gender identity things has removed all the mechanisms in place that were in place before to protect children against sexual abuse or to protect
Mhm.
against sexual exposures or a bunch of so that's the things too, right? It sounds all good. They all put this into the name of inclusions and safety and but that's the thing, inclusive for who?
Well,
Especially
this is it.
the majority of parents who don't want to have a. I don't want to have a guy. I don't want to have a guy dressed like a woman in the front of my children, telling them about all this sexual orientation that doesn't make any sense because they even go above and beyond sexual orientation. It's not homosexuality, heterosexuality, and lesbian. They got things like pansexual, sapiosexuals. They got so many kind of sexuality. It's very hard to
Well,
understand.
in this assembly that I was at, so there was 2 A's. They added 2 A's, and one of those was for asexual.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't teach prepubescent children asexuality because then they're all identifying as asexual.
Yeah.
Well, of course they are. These are prepubescent children. They shouldn't be looking at anybody sexually.
Mm.
Exactly.
And we've got massive, and they don't understand. Even my daughter is 10, and I'm still trying to explain to her, darling, you don't understand what a relationship is, what a couple, what that is, and that's why it's because you're 10. You just don't understand yet, and what really defines a relationship, what makes a relationship.
Mhm.
And they're simply being told it's who you love. So we've got these masses of girls, young girl, again, prepubescent girls, at the moment, all lesbians.
Yeah.
Because they love their best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's what it is, and it is like that in simple terms. I remember my son when he was 4, he used to tell me he loved me so much he was going to marry me. Well, that is the innocence of
So
a mind. You have to
how many children want to marry their dads?
exactly,
You know?
And this is where the confusion comes in then. Well, you must love me. And then it's easy then to abuse a child, like Pierre said.
Yeah.
Who are these schools safe for? Well, that's a big part of our fight, Pierre. So our fight is based on sexual safeguarding and sex abuse in schools, teacher on child abuse, which is something we'd never address. We never ever address this. Now, I've written a report on how easy it is to access children within this environment. Models of offending become manuals of offending. And the people who are shouting for this education, they're actually denying institutional child sex abuse. They are denying this happens in schools. So when we then send them the evidence, they shut us down and they block us. Now, these are people involved in education policy. These are teachers. These are gay teachers as well, okay, involved in this stuff, who are actively denying child sex abuse in schools simply for their own sex lives. And I don't care what kind of person you are or how good you are, how charitable you are. If you are purposely denying the sexual abuse and assaults on our school grounds, you should be nowhere near a child.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Nowhere near them. And if you are denying that for your own sex life, for your own sexuality, we should be having some discussions here with the police, because that's a concern. If I put my sex life before my children or anybody else's children, that is neglect. That's a concern. So this is what we got here. We got victimizing and demonizing. Well, we're victimizing a minority within a minority. And Pierre, you are correct when you say this is weirdos, because this is sexual fetishes coming into a classroom, and that is
And
weird.
this is
Whether
exactly
you're
it.
gay or whether you're straight, that's weird.
For me, I was wondering the other day, but I was thinking, so there's a few things, because obviously for many in the LGBT community, this agenda has been so harmful for them.
Yes.
You know, you've got the lesbian, you know, there were lots of lesbians being kicked out. You've got what I see described on Twitter as straight passing gays, or they'll call them a cis gay man. They're being targeted at a mass scale because, you know, and a few observations and the thoughts I've had, I realised I'm not sure if if the word camp is offensive anymore or anything like that. I don't know. But that's obviously how we used to describe the certain behaviours of some gay men,
Male.
their personality. But I've noticed they're being called feminine gay men now. And I was like, hold on, I've actually, for me, that particular behaviour seems just to gay men, because I've never seen what you would describe camp woman.
No, no.
You know, I don't know women who are like that. So which so confused me as to why it's described as a feminine behavior.
Yes, I really truly do. I think it's just mocking women. And Dylan Mulvaney, who did Bud Light, that was purely mocking women. Women don't prance around, answer the door, act like bimbos, right?
No.
That's not how women behave.
No, not at all.
And this is what I was, obviously it's been Pride Month, so we're seeing lots of videos on the Pride marches. I'd seen one the other day and it was a guy, he's in leather bondage. He's on all fours with a guy behind him with a spanking thing.
Yeah.
And it's on a float. And again, I was like, I think I can be a bit of a man hater. I'm not going to lie. Unfortunately, I know such horror stories that it's hard sometimes to go, you know, there's good men out there. They're not all sexual deviants, you know, but men, I think in general, compared to women, are more kinky or more into more. And then I think, is it because because they're gay, so it's two men, so it's a larger male community? Is that why we see so much kink and in fetish in you know on that side of things? But I don't get it. I don't get why that needs to be, and why it's acceptable to display that in public, what you do in the bedroom, whether it's a straight couple, any adult, even if you perform on your own. Is it okay to go out in your sex clothes?
No, it's absolutely not okay, Adele. It's not. I remember once there was a child, he was having an asthma attack in a shop, and I was dressed to go out on a night out. I wasn't exposing any parts of my body, but I did have on a very small outfit and I had high heels on, so all my legs were showing. And do you know how uncomfortable I felt pulling that boy towards me to breathe with him? I felt, and like I said, nothing was on display. All you could see was my legs and my arms. That was it. But I felt so uncomfortable. And at that time, I was actually in university to become a nurse. So I could say that to him, it's okay, boy, I'm going to be a nurse. You know, I tried to settle him in that way, but I felt so uncomfortable. You know, it's just not right. But what I want to move on to now, guys, is it's not all doom and gloom, because we did see a video where this has been scrapped. And am I correct in saying that's in your part of the world, Ronnie? Or have I got that wrong?
Being scrapped. Which video are you referring to?
So that man, they put a video up where 90,000 children are in one district.
Oh, you're talking about New Brunswick?
Yes, that's the one.
So New Brunswick Education Policy 713. That was, he's remarkable. Jeffrey Gibson, he's been speaking out and spearheading that and trying to get rid of that policy. Premier Higgins, I can't remember his first name, but he is trying to go on the right side of the parents, right? And I think what has been scrapped is they're going to allow parent transparency in school, which means they can't hide gender pronouns, identity, anything else. And there was 2 other things that were scrapped. Maybe Pierre might remember, but I know that they're still trying to get other things eliminated, and he still has the pedal to the gas.
But what the whole point of this story is, the successful thing of that is parents came together and
Yes.
removed their children from school en masse.
That's right.
And
That's what we gotta do.
It was I can't remember if it was 50 or 90,000 students did not go to school that day, which sent a huge message to the schools that parents have had enough.
And this is it, guys. This is what we need to be doing here now in the UK. We set out to, obviously, we kept our fight in Wales. We were going to start small and take them all. Things haven't gone in our favour, but this is what we need to do now, guys. We really do need to come together. We need to look at what's going on across the world. Everybody's fighting this. And I do believe this is why they've come down on us so hard in the UK, because we were one of the last to get this. But it's already been manifesting throughout America for the last 10 years. Parents are now finding out after their children have mutilated themselves, the rates of self-harm and suicide after this manipulation, guys. Okay, so that's what it is, manipulation and confusion, And because the world is kicking off and they're losing control around the world, they are clamping down hard on us, guys. And we need to look at what's going on all corners of this world. We need to learn from other campaigns, learn from other campaigners, because this is a global fight. Schools will have you believe this is isolated. They will have you believe you're the only parent complaining about this. But let me just give you an example of Wales. We got 21 out of 22 local authorities fighting. You're not on your own. So again, there's organisations in England, Scotland and Ireland. We're going to come together for PP UK, so Parent Pushback UK. But we can only achieve this, guys, if we are looking at what's going on in other countries. Don't look at another country and think, oh, I'm glad that's not happening here. It is happening here. Might be on a different scale or under a different name, different title, but this is going on all across the world. And the whole of the world needs to stand up now. You have been forced to stand up. If you're still sat down, you've chosen to be sat down. It doesn't get more serious than this, does it, guys? Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the last time I spoke to you, Ronnie, I was on the show with Phil and I could feel my blood boil. I thought I was going to blow a gasket. Can you explain to people about the masturbation rooms?
Well, that was told to us by another teacher. We were trying to get that confirmed. My husband was just telling me that they're going to add furries. I mean, furries are already in our school, children identifying as cats. And I believe they're going to add an F to the long alphabet LGBTQ. I can't even keep up to all of it. So I can't confirm the masturbation rooms. However, there are things that are happening that are they're encouraging children to touch themselves. And because it feels good. And I know Pierre has been hot on that with exposing the sex ed person that comes into the school and her practice and how she's teaching it, because parents are paying for her to come in. They are raising money for this individual to come in. And the fundraising that they pay for her, they could use it for a field trip or, I don't know, buy a sports equipment or something else, but they're paying for this individual, which should be paid by our school board, not outside. And I think what she's teaching is very insidious. Parents don't really understand, they're thinking they're doing good for their children by having this sex education person come in. But the one thing, and Pierre shared this with me, the title of her sex ed slides was not sexual education, it was sexual pleasure for kids.
Yeah. This is what we're seeing here. There was a post, it was an anonymous post on a sex education group. Mrs. House said life is too short not to have great sex. So, and that was seen, legend. They were saying things like legend, well done. These are comments from teachers. So Mrs. House had posted this anonymously, but then she's on a different group with the man I just mentioned now, the man that believes there's no sex abuse in schools and now he's denying it. So she must have felt very confident on that group because she shared that post again in her name. And again, they were all like, yay, yay, yay. When in actual fact, if these teachers did have a tiny little bit of education in this, they would understand that to teach about relationships, you've got to avoid sex altogether. Because when you're actually having sex, you're releasing a chemical, oxytocin,
Right.
which is responsible for connection and bonding and things like that. Now, if we are bed hopping or looking for pleasure, that quick climax, you're releasing these chemicals. You have absolutely no idea you're releasing them. And then you're empty. You're empty on the inside and you don't know. So if this was a relationships education, the first thing they would be doing is telling children, be very careful how and when you have sex, who you choose to have sex with, because this will affect your relationships. So this is what I mean. Everything they say it is, it's the total opposite. And that's how uneducated our teachers are in this field, because they can't even pick up on little, well, basic facts such as that.
No, but
you
they
know?
should also pick up like just something as simple as I think a parent told me a couple weeks ago, they were in, they have lunchtime in the gym, like a sex type of atmosphere. This was high school. I still don't think it's appropriate. And they
No.
were raffling off sex toys. And the teacher had a bottle of lube. She's got a dildo and a vibrator. And the parent's telling me this. And I said, you got to be kidding me. She says, no. They're doing this at lunch hours. And they've been doing it like a once a week kind of thing. And these students that want to come in. And other parents will go, well, you know, they're going to learn sex anyways. They're going to learn it in magazines. They're going to learn it in TV. So why not learn it in school? And I say, okay, well, that's crossing the line here, right? I don't think it's
this thought.
No, so I'm getting mixed sides,
this
right?
thought process that we keep hearing of, well, they're seeing it online anyway, so
yeah, that's right. So why not? Why is it the harm in school?
Yeah, they see murder. They watch horrors.
However,
do we start teaching them different ways? I just don't get that kind of the mentality of they're gonna see it anyway. So we just need to give them.
I get it. But I don't think, as a teacher a couple of years ago, I'm sure you had to too, to take sexual abuse protocols, procedures, right? How to file if there's a student in my school, blah, 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 right? That I'm a role and duty to do that.
Yeah.
But I certainly wouldn't be standing up a couple of years ago, holding a bottle of lube and a vibrator and saying this about my students. I don't care if you're 16, 15, 14, 17. That is crossing the line for teacher etiquette with your students.
Yeah.
This is not acceptable.
If you're a 60-year-old professor, you're not supposed to be sleeping with your 40-year-old student. That is the way it is, you know. So when people say, "Oh, they're going to do it anyway," they're going to do this anyway, they're going to do that is the most lamest, pathetic excuse I've ever heard. Another one I keep hearing is, "If I had had this education, I could have come out sooner." Well, actually, I know 40-year-olds whose parents don't know they smoke. So if your child is unable to speak to you about whatever it is, then that's on you. That's not on the education system.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, I've got a 40-year-old friend whose parents don't know she smokes cigarettes. And that's not because she didn't have lessons on how to smoke cigarettes.
We need to be encouraging the relationship between, a parent and a child. So back when I was in school, we had the family planning clinics. Now, it was a day away for us to much off school. You would say you would have to go to the family planning clinic. And we would. We'd all go down there, sit in the waiting room, and all come out with condoms an hour later. It got us off school. It got us off school. None of us were active, but it was just somewhere to go. And back then, they dealt with all of women's health. When I was having my fertility tested, I went to the family planning clinic, and you were seen there. Now the family planning clinic is pretty much succumbed to just being an STD clinic. And like these places could be fantastic. We're really serious that we want to educate these children. We want to stop abuse, and these family planning clinics would be the perfect place where you would have classes for parents and child, parent classes on sexual abuse, nearly like a safeguarding course, but for parents on their kids and the signs. Classes for parents and their teenagers to go to learn about communication and how would you talk to your mum like this. And there is so many ways that we could do this that doesn't involve all this secrecy. And we just have to wake people up to this is the global agenda. This is a say yes to sex education. It is a sex positive education. It wants to promote promiscuous behavior.
Going
And
on
like
that point,
you were saying with the gods,
going on that point where you've said now about how we could have classes with the parents and the children, if you think back to the RSE draft, when they were pretending this was a Welsh education, they did
yeah,
studies in schools, and one of the studies they did in the school was where they had parents coming in the evenings. Now attendance was very, very low to begin with. But after a couple of weeks, it became the thing where the parents would all go to the local school and engage in activities. Not only did the parents' attendance increase, so did the children's. So that is actually a successful approach to that. That
mhm.
is a successful approach, and that's within the government's own documentation that they have completely ditched. There's a comment here now going back to the sex toys. There's a school in Scotland that suggests getting autistic children vibration toys to help them climax. Now, I do have to speak here, because this is an area where a lot of people are scared of. Okay, so I used to run the additional needs movement, but I had to come away from that for this because additional needs parents are scared. They don't want to be talking about this stuff with children. But it needs to be addressed with additional needs children. Now, it needs to be addressed because they are red hot blooded males, the males are, and they do have these urges and these manifestations if these things are ignored. However, there are ways of prolonging it as well. Do you know what I mean? You need to look after these additional needs children from a very young age because they are at risk of being abused. So you need to look into their history as well. Has anybody been interfering there to trigger these things? Because some children will touch themselves and they'll find a sensation there and they'll continuously go back there. But a lot of children are introduced to the sensations. So again, you can't just say that these children will behave in this way because we're sexual from birth. We're anything but sexual from birth. And I think they've taken a step too far with the additional needs children because they are high risk of being abused. They're also high risk of offending against other children. And then if you flip that around onto the gender side, it's the additional needs children again who are falling foul to that. So it's very, very concerning what they're doing to additional needs children. And the parents don't have the confidence, the skills, or the knowledge to address these issues themselves. So it's easy then to pass on to somebody else.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Regarding the arguments of the school that because children are going to be exposed to it, therefore we have to expose them to something. While children are going to be exposed to drug, doesn't mean we have to sell drug in school.
Exactly.
The argument is like this is so freaking. There's no logic in the way those people think. Okay, this is that. And regarding the autistic, I think the teachings of sexual feelings kind to the autistic people. That's a tricky subject actually because I got someone in my family who she's I won't. Yeah, anyway, I got someone in my family who was autistic, but how can I say that? Not a high level autistic. She cannot do
She's
nothing.
low functioning. Very
Yeah,
low functioning.
non-functioning autistic, and someone from the government come to the house of the mother of that autistic woman now, and they were asking they were saying that she may have tantrums because she don't know about sexual feeling. So they told the mother, we're gonna take your daughter and teach her masturbation so she can understand. But that doesn't make any sense because listen, she don't have any sexual feeling. Now you start to teach an autistic, non-functioning person how to masturbate. What do you think is gonna happen?
Exactly.
We're gonna masturbate all the time. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So there is so these things about teaching children's the vibration. No, that's a complete nonsense about I think yeah, no, definitely not.
It's,
So
it's
I think
absolutely disgusting. And we are dealing with the system. Let's call a spade a spade. When
yeah.
you look at the history of this documentation and the raw data, we are dealing with child sex abuse. There's no denying that, So
Just one thing, just one more thing I want to say. You were talking about in the problem in UK. It seems that the country hide informations from the parents. In
yes,
Canada, it's the contrary. They want us to believe that what they are doing is good. So they want they want to groom the populations to believe that everything they are doing is good. So they expose everything they are doing. Okay, so in Canada, but there's only 3 provinces actually that made a case of teacher misconduct public. Okay, I find within those cases, I find 2,000 cases of teacher misconduct related to sexual abuse since 1999, 98. So it's, if you want to take an example, that's if you want to show to people, listen, schools are not all sunshines and rainbow as
no.
they want us to believe. There are bad things that happen. Look at Canada. What happened? If you cannot find this information, I'm sure you can find this information in the UK. You just need to know where to look.
Well,
But
this is it. So I am a qualified criminologist. So my my field is institutional child sex abuse. So I look at the lost statistics, and we've got the fitness to practice panels from the Education Workforce Council. Now, a third of them are sexually motivated, a third, and teachers are only struck off for 2 years. So, and this is never in the mainstream media, never, ever, ever. You get the odd isolated incident, but we're dealing with institutions. And where there are institutions with children, there are predators, and you're never going to eliminate it, but you can create an environment making it difficult for them to offend. And the only way you can do that is by educating the adults and speaking about it. Because if you're talking about it, you're creating an environment where they're reluctant to offend. But at school, a lot of parents don't realize a school and a teacher has groomed you. Even Ronnie, every single parent whose child went to her, they were groomed by Ronnie just because she was a teacher. They trusted her. So Ronnie didn't intentionally groom them. The role in society as a trusted person has already conquered part of that grooming process. So then for a teacher, you've got the access. All you need is the opportunity, which you can get, especially with additional needs children. And then there's the secret. There's only one thing to conquer, and until parents and teachers get offended when I say that. I say, but your position in society is already groomed. I'm not a groomer. No, you're not a groomer, but your position has already groomed us into trusting and believing in you. So until you can see what's going on in your staff room, we're not going to get anywhere. And we all have to start calling out. If you're going to blindly trust, that's the first mistake in safeguarding anyway. If I am going to sit around a table and think 100% of those people there are good people, I'm a fool. You can't trust people 100%. You're a fool if you do that, and this is what people need to realize. Stop trusting. Stop trusting these people.
I think we've given our power of authority over to government, doctors, teachers, right? They would never do anything to harm us, right? So therefore, I'm just going to give my power away, and they would never do me wrong.
Yes.
And we need to change that mentality.
We do. And the only way we can do that, Ronnie, is with people like yourself speaking up, because we're having a real problem with the teachers here. We've only got a handful of teachers with us, because the teachers think they are above us. They're above us. They are teachers, you know, and that's a wrong attitude to have. I believe it should be a three-way partnership: parent, child, teacher.
Well, it always had been.
Yeah.
It always had been. It's only been the last 3 years, I would say 3 years for sure, that partnership three-way is out the window.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know, because I don't have my kids in the system, if Pierre is a dad and he has 4 children, if he could say that teachers in his school feel authority over him. I don't know, because my kids are not in the system.
No.
Maybe
I give, you know, when I send my kids to the school, I give, you know, temporary, I give some authority to the teachers, you know, with limitations. That's why the law is always regarding sexual abuse. They always, the people who are in positions of power, there are things that they cannot do. Even touching a kid on the shoulder. And they can't do this because they are in position of power. I understand what you mean by they already grooming. That's the positions of power. The kid is going to listen to them. So the policies and regulations are very strict about it, about what a teacher can do to a child for that reason, because they're already in position of authority. But the problem with the sexual orientation and gender identity, new policies and things that they put in school is that they remove that mechanism. Now a teacher can talk about sexual stuff to her children, but the person is already in position of, a teacher is already in position of power. So if you allow them to talk about sexuality to her children, you know, if that teacher is a pedophile that hasn't infiltrated the school, why, that's just school become even unheard for those psychopaths.
Oh yeah, it's a pedophile's paradise. It then becomes a pedophile's paradise. There's no two ways about that. People believe those words are rather strong, and they get offended when we say these things. But I say, if you're easily offended, you're also easily manipulated. You know, this isn't a time to be offended or upset now. We all need to grow a backbone and do something about this. You know, there is no way around it, you know. Right, guys, I'm mindful I've kept you now for almost an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to say? Any messages you'd like to get out there? What's your final words, guys? Pierre, do you want to go first?
Because actually, I really need to jump off. The dog is biting my arm. Ayla is stood at the door, and there's a big chaos is starting to ensue around me. So, if you don't mind, I'd just like to say goodbye first. And it's wonderful listening to both of you speak and, you know, sharing your stories. And I think people really do need to take a closer look at what's going on in Canada, and some of the laws that are, you know, have been put in over there, because people don't want to believe that this is where we're heading. But if we don't step up now, we'll go in the same direction. So I think it's vital.
Late to the party. We're already late to the party. You know, we were late to the party 10 years ago. Let's be honest. You know, this plan has been in place a long time. We need to move like yesterday.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Appreciate. I think it's so brilliant that we can all be connecting, and it's been a great show, Kim. It's been really informative. So thank you. And sorry I got to jump off a bit early.
No problem.
Yes, gotta go and slap back into mum mode now.
Thanks for joining us, Dan. Love. Speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me on. All right, good night, everybody.
Bye. Yeah, so Pierre, would you like to go first? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, sure. That, you know, for the parents, I think, you know, shame. If you see someone who's pushing gender ideologies and all this sexual BS to your children, shame them, expose them, show to the world what they do. Those people are living in little city. Let everyone know what those people are doing. They're gonna be so uncomfortable because, as I said, the only place they are safe to speak about this is in school. Now, if you expose them, now they all know in the entire city, they'll stop pretty damn fast, because no one wants to be associated with the over-sexualization of children or the mutilations of children. So shame them. And, you know, and we have to stop to make the victim invisible. That's what we're doing. You know, when we start to talk about sexuality, when everyone in the school start to talk about sexual stuff, the victims of sexual abuse are not visible because everyone is speaking about sexuality. Because
Yeah.
before, the way to know which child was sexually abused, maybe at home, maybe in school, is the way they were talking about
Yes.
sexual stuff. Now the child will talk about sexual stuff, well, it's all normal. So we made even for the predator at home, now it's become even more easy for them to abuse the children, because now they're using everything they are teaching in school. The children is groomed to believe that what happened to them is normal, right?
Yeah.
They go to schools, it seems to be normal. Then the children is going to be abused. It's never gonna know that they are abused. So I think we have to make. I know we fight against the abuser. It's very important, but we have to make a campaign to raise the voice of the victims of gender ideology, those who has been mutilated by the state, that now they are inside the cult, they think it's okay. We have to make them understand that this is not okay. They are abused, and we have to raise a campaign for those who are sexually abused. I think that, because if we can have all those voices out that has been abused, that will be very powerful, and that will make big change, and we will save people from continuing to getting abused. And that's why it is important to prevent groomings.
Yes.
People think, why you talk about groomings? Who don't groom that? Who cares about? No, groomings, because grooming is the first step to abuse.
Of course it is.
The grooming is done. You get abused, it's done. You'll never know that the child is abused. So,
And the thing is, as well, over 95% of the times, you've got to groom an adult before you can get to a child anyway. So don't think that like these are predators, weirdo predators coming into your home. These are people you know. These are people you trust,
He's a good guy that you
have
know.
been groomed as an adult. And until we can accept the fact that we can be fooled and we can be groomed, we're not going to achieve anything. We've got to accept our own flaws and the fact that we can easily be manipulated by a charismatic character. It's a natural thing. And until we break down these barriers, we're not going to get anywhere, guys.
So one more word. Showing sexually explicit material to children is child abuse. No doubt about it. Don't doubt yourself. If someone show a pictures of a man, of a boy sucking the dick of a man on a book, this is sexual abuse. There's no doubt.
Yes, of course it is.
So that's it. That's my point.
By definition, and I'll extend on that. So by definition, guys, if your children are being shown any images or any sexual act, okay, doesn't matter where it is non-contact sex abuse, okay? And that is referenced on the Sexual Offences Act 2003. Look up non-contact sex abuse, Sexual Offences Act 2003. Take that paragraph, learn it, and use it.
Yeah, and in Canada, it's section 171.1, paragraph 5, that describe the sexually explicit material, non-contact sexual abuse, as she just described.
Fantastic. What about you, Ronnie? What have you got to say?
Well, I mean, I've been talking to many different communities in different faiths, right? And trying to understand where they're at, right? And how to kind of break through those barriers, because the barriers have been put in place by the government so that we cannot grow in numbers. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I break those barriers, right? How do I lock arms with a person who may be a Muslim, a Sikh, whoever it is? If you have the love in your heart for children and you can see the destruction that they're trying to do to future humanity, I don't care who you are, who you pray to, what the color of your skin is, if you live in an apartment box, don't care, right? We really need to break those barriers. And I've been diligently trying to do that and talking with people like you and around the world on, we can see this as a worldwide attack. How we win this is through courage, not having fear. They want us to be fear, to keep us paralyzed, right? And I talked to a Sikh the other day, and he was quite appalled that the Sikh community wasn't speaking up. But he himself was there. He was applauding us. He was at the BC Teachers Head Office, where we were rallying for children, not protesting. We are now moving to rallying for children. We are going to rally for the innocence of children and say no more. So I thought we're going to change our dialogue from protesting to rallying, because I think that shows more that we're rallying for the innocence. We're not coming out in anger and hatred. And I think that will help move it in more positive light. But just if anybody who is an immigrant, this is what he said. People who've moved into Canada who are immigrants will not speak up. And I said, why is that? Because if they oppose our dictator, we will be sent out of the country. And our country, where we're from, is way worse than Canada. So we're going to keep our lips sealed. We're going to do as we're told. And we're just going to carry on. I said, but you know what? As soon as you're a Canadian citizen, you follow our Canada law, we live on. Where do we go? They will fear us when we grow in numbers, when we come out in a loving space, in a unity space, and saying no more to children. As an adult, I don't care what you do behind doors. Just stop with the sexualizing and the abusing and harassing. You are harassing kids in the classroom that can't speak up. And one quick thing, there was a boy here in North Van who, grade 10, he could not go into his gym class because it's Pride Month here, you know, and they want to move to Pride season. You know, it's going to be autumn, some spring, Pride, whatever. Just this week, he was told that he could not come into gym class if he didn't wear a Pride shirt. Well, like, wait a sec. I thought we're supposed to be inclusive, diverse.
Yeah.
So if I don't wear the Pride shirt, shouldn't I be coming in because we're celebrating diversity and inclusion? And he was not allowed to go into gym with his other peers, with that teacher. And he said, you know what? Screw you. I'm going home.
Yeah.
So now
this is it. We are very fortunate here. We are really, you need to feel the energy. We've had 10 mosques sign a statement for our court case. There's only 40 mosques in Wales, so that's a quarter of all mosques. We have, it was in actual fact a Muslim organization who hid this from the Muslim community. So when the Muslim community found out, even though people tried to claim that I was far-right racist, they sent out emails with my photo and everything. But they shot themselves in the foot because in their own religion, on Judgment Day, the Creator will side with a non-believer over the believer if the non-believer speaks truth. Well, all we've got to do is keep speaking truth because these people have these grounding principles and they do shine through. And once we are together, I've said to the media, you won't report on us because when your camera comes into our crowd, you don't know if it's a Christian or a lesbian. And that's why you won't report on us. And that is a massive achievement. The energy, we can't even put it into words. We are creating a community, not because we're all together in one small area. Our community comes from our heart. We've got 3 principles. You're either the human race or you're the human disgrace. There's only one split in society, that's adulthood and childhood, and everybody under 18 is a minor. That's our 3 principles. When we're together, those are our 3 principles. We're all part of the human race. Everyone outside is the human disgrace. And then when we all part ways, we go home and we practice our own beliefs and things like that, you know. But that's how we are doing this. And we are. This is why the government hate us so much. We've taken the power from these organizations' hands because we are overcoming the narratives the media's pumping out. We are united, and like I said, we are building a community. This community is from our heart, not from the place that we live, you know, and that is something to be proud of. This is a bittersweet time. It is a very bittersweet time. You know, we've got these attacks, these assaults on our children, but look at the magic around us. Look at the people coming together who would never, ever have met each other on any other occasion. Everybody's coming forward, offering what skills they have, you know, giving a little bit of time, sharing a post, contributing money. Magic is happening, guys. And the world, you know, the world is about to change. There's no 2 ways about that. But which way is it going to go depends on us. I don't like the way they want it to go, but we're at the crossroads now. We can steer this into a much better place because let's be honest, this world must have been pretty messed up for this stuff to come in to begin with. So, you know, if this world had everything in order, had a lot of morality, you know, amongst us, we wouldn't be having this discussion now. So the fact this is in play, it shows us we've got problems that we should have dealt with a long time ago. And I have to see this then as an opportunity.
Absolutely, 100%. I love the way you articulated that. That was beautiful.
Right then, guys, I'd like to thank you both for joining me. I'm going to say goodbye to you now, but I do hope you'll join us again, Ronnie and
You
Pierre.
betcha.
Sure.
Thank you so much for having us.
I put the link for Pierre's website in the chat box. So that's gone to the 3 channels it's into now. And guys, please come back and join us sometime soon and keep us updated on your fight.
You bet. No, we'd love to have you come and join us as well.
Oh, if I could afford the flight, I'd be out there tomorrow.
No, I mean virtually.
We can figure this out.
Oh, okay. Well,
Of course. We can pay you a flight ticket.
There we go.
I'm small enough, maybe 2 drones. I can do 2 drones.
That'd be fun.
Guys, thank you all very much. I am going to shut down the live now, guys. Thank you all very much for watching and sharing. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I know we haven't been as active as we usually are, but that's because we've had the court case and everything else going on. It will be Nigel Thorne's video tomorrow night, guys. The Queer Theory series will be playing at 8:30. And you'll see myself and Lucia on possibly Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going back to Neon to record our presentation because the presentation we did the other night did not record. So as soon as our recording is back, we'll also put that out as well, guys. That will apply to the whole of the UK. It is referenced. There's over 100 points of reference. So get it out there, guys. It'll be in 3 parts. Let's get this information out there. Let's come together. And next week, we should have some news for you on the UK fight. Again, guys, thank you all for watching. It's great to be back. And I'll speak to you all soon. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.